Acha, a lot of times I get asked this question regarding oil prices and how to trade and think about oil prices. तो इसमें आप देख सकते हैं मैंने overall chart डाला हुआ है since the 1990s. Uh, Needless to say, oil has been very volatile, right? And बड़ी cyclical सी एक commodity है. And कभी ऊपर जाएगा नीचे जाएगा, and it's very difficult to actually just say कि यार there's a long term trend in this, unlike let's say the S&P or some other instruments that you could trade. Commodities typically एक cycle में चलती हैं, but oil तो definitely बहुत ज़्यादा volatile cycle का हिस्सा है. One way to think about where we're looking at is that currently oil is Brent is sitting at 86.15 for the futures contract, and basically this is the this is the 1 month rolling futures contract. And what the fundamentals are essentially saying is that oil is here to remain higher for longer, and that's primarily because of the fact that when you look at US petroleum reserves and global petroleum reserves, जो कि US अपने strategic crude oil stocks रखता है in reserves to make sure that अगर उसको कभी emergency में जरूरत पड़ जाए तो it can always rely on that, because economy तो बंद नहीं हो जाती. इसी तरह global economies भी अपनी अपने strategic petroleum reserves रखती हैं in order to make sure that अगर oil prices बहुत मतलब oil if it doesn't reach their shore, if they're not able to get supplies from outside for oil, so at least ये हो कि locally उनके पास इतना oil हो. Every country thinks about this way, okay? They can supply their economy and the economy doesn't shut down, because oil is such an important part of the of every economy. So therefore, when you're looking at the where oil is going to be from now, one good way to look at is the strategic petroleum reserves. In fact, OPEC, which is the oil group of companies that are a group of economies and countries that are producing oil, including obviously all these Middle East countries, as well as countries like Mexico and stuff, and now Russia as part of the OPEC plus. तो ये सारी countries भी जो ये OPEC है organization, ये भी इसी inventory level data levels को देख रही होती है to measure कि overall oil की demand क्या होगी आने वाले वक्त में, and therefore they also plan their supply in tandem with this information. तो इसमें एक snapshot ये है which you can look at your screen, which is the weekly US ending stocks for crude oil in their strategic petroleum reserves, जो कि ये drawdown करते चले जा रहे हैं, as you can see lately, and it's come to a point where I think since EIA, which is the Energy Information Administration, the US agency that tracks this data and publishes this data, ये आप देख सकते हैं कि this is coming down to the levels which have never been seen before, and it's actually breached. This has been the lowest level since 1984, right? And this is quite significant because at the end of the day, what this tells you is that oil oil prices will continue to remain higher because demand will continue to remain there, right? Because at the end of the day, जो oil consuming countries हैं, such as India, US, European countries, Scandinavian countries, जब वो oil consume करेंगी, तो ultimately, that will retain the demand for oil and therefore the price of oil prices, basically. And that's what you need to understand going into right now. Which is what I'm trying to say is that global oil forecasters are also saying the same thing, that oil is here to stay for higher for longer, potentially 80-ish, anywhere between $80 to $100 a barrel. And some are even saying that this could exceed $100, जो पिछली अभी हमने recently spike देखा था, as you saw here, that oil spiked up to levels of 140, which were the same levels you saw in 2008. And unlike 2008, when it actually crashed down to 30, 35, 36, what they're saying is that oil prices will continue to remain higher because unlike 2008 levels, जहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं कि पेट्रोलियम जो रिजर्व्स थे they were pretty, pretty healthy levels. Right now we're almost, at half that level जो 2008 में level था. तो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस दैट ये वो सेम सिचुएशन नहीं है ऑयल की, जो कि 2008 में लोग कह रहे थे कि यार क्रैश आने वाला है, therefore oil is also going to crash. इस वक्त genuinely डिमांड इतनी ज्यादा है, predominantly because of the fact कि एक तो बेस डिमांड है which is let's say 100, 96 to 100 million barrels per day, और फिर एक वो डिमांड है जो कि ये पेट्रोलियम रिजर्व्स की वजह से it's hidden. So this oil price that you see right now at $85 per barrel is actually not accounting for the fact, is hiding the fact कि इस वक्त यूएस और बाकी कंट्रीज अपने पेट्रोलियम रिजर्व्स ड्रॉ डाउन कर रही हैं, अपने स्टॉक्स को, इन्वेंट्री को ड्रॉ डाउन कर रही हैं. इमेजिन once they actually start buying from the international markets where 85 से ऊपर की कहानी होगी फिर, right? So that's one way to think about oil. Another way to think about oil is basically US. You look at the U.S. active oil rigs. So, जो number of rigs हैं, right, which are is just one way. I wouldn't say an accurate way, but which is one way to look at the U.S. oil supply to the global oil markets and the local. वो इस वक्त pre-pandemic levels पे भी reach नहीं करी है, right? And some are saying that if you account for the actual supply per rig, you look at the overall supply, not look at the rigs, because each rig can produce a different quantum of oil. So अगर आप overall भी देखें तो it's just reached the pre-pandemic level. It's actually not even reached the 2018, 2019 level, right? So overall, again, story यही है कि oil is here to stay. Oil supply अभी भी वहां पे नहीं है where it needs to be in order to balance out the market, and therefore it's demand is only going to be there. Now, how do you play this whole trade, right? I wanted to do a lot of things, but then I thought it's nice enough to neatly classify oil related companies in three categories, right? And therefore this is what I am looking at in terms of the oil trade right now. This is what my sort of would this is some of the names that my portfolio has featured on and off here and there. Now, there are three expertise of each oil related company, right? Oil एक बहुत बड़ी oil and gas एक बहुत बड़ी industry है, and within which there are three major areas. One is the oil exploration and production, which is the E&P industry, जिसमें basically जो companies actual produce कर रही हैं on the ground, right? BP, Shell, and one of them I've named that I have personally been invested in over the past, ConocoPhillips. These are the companies that are actually going into these wells and drilling these wells and extracting that whole thing and actually selling it in the global markets, right? So E&P में आप देख सकते हैं कि it would be primarily all these shale players, all the global players that you see that मतलब more or less जिनके बारे में आप ज्यादा सुनते हैं. Let's just put it this way. कि ब्रिटिश पेट्रोलियम के बारे में आपने ज्यादा सुना होगा, ConocoPhillips के बारे में आपने ज्यादा सुना होगा, right? So on and so forth. तो ये ज्यादा headlines में रहती हैं, but this is only part of the equation. Or exploration production companies or actual companies that are producing this oil and gas are of one kind, right? Then there is the kind where you actually are helping in drilling the oil. So these are companies that are in the drilling industry, and what they do is supply the drills, जो आप कहते हैं ना rigs, the rigs को जो 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 basically तेल को निकालती हैं, वो जो equipment है, वो drills जो हैं वो कुछ companies provide करती हैं, and one of them that I had in mind was Helmerich and Payne, which is HP, जिसका symbol HP है. So these are drilling companies predominantly, and you can go into the drilling industry and see what are the companies that are producing rigs and actively participating in the supply of these drills that are ultimately able to extract oil. Baker and Hughes is another company that goes into that supplies the equipment used for drilling as well, for example. Oil field services. Now, third category is oil field services. These are essentially services that are provided in tandem with these drilling equipments and exploration. Basically, they are what you call these the softer the smaller service categories. For example, मतलब आपकी जो drill की क्या कहते हैं टेस्टिंग है, उधर एरिया की टेस्टिंग है, इसमें रिजर्विंग रिजर्व्स कितने हैं, क्या कहते हैं एक्चुअल वेल्स को कंस्ट्रक्ट करना once the wells have been drilled into, and a lot of other testing and other services जो कि ये provide करती हैं. These oil field services are also extremely important and part of the ecosystem that defines what I would call the oil trade, right? So in this specifically, we have two large companies, Halliburton and Schlumberger, Schlumberger, and one of them that I've actively participated in would be Halliburton. So these are some of the names that I had in mind. For example, let's that you can look at, but you can also look at each of these specific categories. मेरा मकसद ये आज की बात करने का ये था. You can look at each of these categories and actually look at the stocks within these categories. Exploration production companies, drilling companies, the ones that are providing the drilling equipment, and then the oil field services companies to actually look at how you can target this trade. Uh, Something that you have to understand is that wherever you actually end up on these three more or less trajectory will be driven by the oil prices, right? Because at the end of the day, the oil prices then that are determining the profits for these guys. The higher the oil prices, the more drilling, the more attractive exploration production will be. And जब exploration production companies ज़्यादा produce कर रही होंगी, तो फिर वो ज़्यादा drill भी कर रही होंगी, and they will be acquiring the services of oil field services company or OFS companies as well, right? To keep it short. Now, because I've mentioned these three names, I want to actually look at these three quickly. So number one, you have COP, you have COP, which is the ConocoPhillips. Overall chart on the monthly, as you can see, overall chart on the monthly, it made a bottom of 2140, and since then is actually moved up quite dramatically. ConocoPhillips ki, obviously a lot of the majority of their revenue comes from US exploration. They have a lot of shale plays down south, mid south, and to south, and essentially they have international plays as well, where they are exploring and producing oil as well, but a lot of this is US based. So iski, if I can quickly go into ConocoPhillips's numbers, the estimate for EPS for if I can quickly, yeah, the estimate for EPS for 2020 is around 14. If I'm not, yeah, this is the $14 per share, coming in from $15 high, and then it's moving on to $11. Jo overall analyst key ratings, and that's around $126. So you still have around $130 that you 30% from current $100 price that you can actually benefit from. Again, oil continues to stay on the higher end. Recently, this has taken a beating down at been 9% down last reading, and this is to me one of those places कि अगर oil ऊपर की तरफ रहता है, this is something that you can look at to maybe at least Abdullah can you can look at it, and I can look personally I'm looking at it as part of this play, the oil play. Overall, क्या कहते हैं, overall, as I've said, that there are different angles that you can look at. I am leaning more towards the drilling companies, but more importantly, the oil services companies. Drilling में HP है. HP overall has been at $35, settled around that level. Reached a peak after Corona of 55. आप देख सकते हैं कि उससे पहले back in 2014 2015 जब US rigs बड़ी तेजी से drill कर रही थी, and obviously as I said this is a drilling company, and I will quickly just open ROIC just to make sure we read this together. As it says here, American Paint together with its subsidiaries provide drilling services and solutions for exploration and production companies. As I said, drilling services and solutions for exploration and production companies. The company operates through three segments: North American Solutions, Offshore, Gulf and Mexico, and International Solutions, right? So essentially, when we go into HP, let's look at HP, and let's look at the analyst estimates. So HP, they're expecting, as I said, कि drilling जो है वो मजीद ऊपर ही जाएगी, right? Because the US needs to produce more, produce more oil. And as I said, the rig count is going to go up. Every time the rig count will go up, जब भी रिग्स का नंबर ऊपर जाएगा, कोई ना कोई उस रिग को सप्लाई कर रहा होगा या उसको एक्टिवेट कर रहा होगा, एंड दैट्स वेयर एचपी कम्स इन. दिस इज व्हाई यू सी कि 2022 में, यानी उससे पहले तो लॉस मेकिंग थी, 2022 में दे विल फाइनली ब्रेक इवन. 2020 में दे विल मेक $3 versus 70 cents, 7 cents that they were making. So you can see the jump that they will be making next year, and then after that they will be making $3.5 per share. This is their the estimate and consensus estimate for HP. So you can see that even quarterly trajectory B has been up, and overall fundamentals are going to indicate that HP will continue to do good because of the fact that oil basically US will need to produce more, and when you produce more you will need more rigs to produce that. Average estimate $55 है. अगर आप average estimate लगाते हैं, currently it's at trading at 35. Conservatively अगर आप 55 भी ले लेते हैं, you're still looking at 57% upside from current. Personally, मुझे लगता है कि अगर oil, given what I'm looking at, oil will continue to stay, I think it will go up to $70. So I personally think this is the 100% trade, 100% return trade if oil remains above the 80 $85 level, which as I said कि currently जो fundamentals लग रहे हैं वो ऊपर के ही लग रहे हैं. Agar niche, obviously it breaks down because there's a huge recession in the global markets and yada yada yada. Then obviously the whole trade breaks down. But I'm talking about a bullish oil trade, and so far the oil thesis is looking bullish unless until something changes that. So HP, great name that I've had in the portfolio in the past. Recently I've sold it and switched to other names. Let's look at Halliburton. So Halliburton, I'll also pull this up so that it's clear what Halliburton does, and then we'll look at other things. So this is okay. So let me just see. अब्दुल्ला, मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
जी जी आ रही है. आप इसको एंटर करके तो वो उस पे चले जाएं, चार्ट्स पे चले जाएं, फिर ये खुल जाएगा वापस.
नहीं, ये मैं असल में देख
अच्छा,
रहा था.
पहले
नहीं नहीं,
इसी से
मुझे
स्टार्ट.
डर, नहीं मुझे डर ये लगा कि कहीं आप लॉस्ट यू एंड मुझे मैं
नहीं नहीं नहीं
चले जा रहा हूँ, चले जा रहा हूँ
नहीं नहीं.
मैं. हाँ, मैं आप कट कर दीजिएगा इसको.
हाँ.
अच्छा, now let's look at Halliburton and look at what ROIC.ai says. So Halliburton company provides products and services to the energy industry worldwide. It operates in two segments: completion and production, and drilling and evaluation. The completion and production segment offers production enhancement services that include stimulation and sand control services, cementing services such as well bonding and casing equipment. Completion tools that offer downhole solutions and services, including well completion products and services, intelligent well completion and service tools, as well as liner hanger, sand control, and multilateral systems. Right? Production solutions comprising coil tubing, hydraulic workover units, downhole tools, and pumping and nitrogen services, and pipeline process services such as pre-commissioning, commissioning, maintenance, and decommissioning. तो वेल जब ओपन होता है तो जब खुलता है तो उसकी एक सर्टेन सर्विसेज होती हैं, प्री ड्रिलिंग. फिर जब वो ड्रिल होता है, ड्रिल होकर एक प्रोडक्शन की उसमें आ जाते हैं तो उसकी अलग सर्विसेज होती हैं. एंड देन जब वो डीकमीशन हो रहा होता है तो उसकी अलग सर्विसेज रिक्वायर्ड होती हैं. इन सब पूरे प्रोसेस में Halliburton is a huge player alongside Schlumberger that provides these services, and it's a great way to play this again this overall production game. आप देख सकते हैं कि this is the monthly chart. Overall these are the levels that I've already drawn. इस पे मैंने recently काम किया था because I recently entered into this trade. It retained its uptrend, and finally it's actually broken that trend down, trading at around the 25 level, which is also happens to be, if I'm not wrong, the 50% fib level. So this is a key area that I'm looking at. Personally, given that, given my thesis on oil, this would be a great place to accumulate. Still above the 50 EMA. So it seems like it's a good place to accumulate this stock. मेरे लिए तो I personally feel this is a great place to look at it. However, obviously ये टाइम ही बताएगा अगला आने वाला हफ्ता के how the markets play out. But overall जो oil trade है उसमें Halliburton is one of the top names जो मेरी लिस्ट में है, and personally invested into. अगर आप इसके फंडामेंटल्स देख लें, let's look at Halliburton, the company. So let's look at the analyst estimates. So similar trajectory to Helmerich and Payne. पिछले साल इन्होंने $8 किया था. Next year they're expecting to do 2.012 dollars and change. The year after 2020, this year, sorry, the year after is $2.8, and the year after that 3.3. So generally, analysts are in concurrence with the fact that a company like Halliburton will continue to be benefiting from the overall solid fundamentals for oil. Average target price 43 hai, which is if you look at 43 divided by what 24 right now, where we are 25, let's say, you're looking at 72%. Analyst ratings के हिसाब से this is the highest upside that can be given from the three companies that I've actually looked at, जो मैं देख रहा होता हूँ. Personally, I feel कि given oil might claw back to 2007-2018 levels, we're looking at 56-60 dollars, maybe even $70 from the current $25, at least 55-60. तो मैं देख रहा हूँ अगर oil moves higher. So overall, great sort of company to be looking at. मेरे लिए तो I think this is something that I've been looking at for quite a while. I think all field services companies are the most well positioned to benefit from basically any sort of any sort of activity in the oil industry, right? It's not going to be a specific niche, but across the board, across from the time that gap अपनी production even exploration शुरू करें to when you actually drill it and extract it to when you decommission it, हर चीज में they're there. And so all field services companies like Schlumberger and Halliburton would be a good place to look at when I'm looking at how to think about the oil trade. So this, in a nutshell, is what we would, let's say, term an oil trade, if given the fact कि जो कि मुझे नजर आ रहा है कि markets overall जो जो sentiment है oil पे go के वो negative हो गई है because of the downturn in the market. But generally जो fundamentals हैं analyst community जो बता रही है, consensus estimates भी जो हैं, और जो generally मुझे भी नजर आ रहा है वो यही है कि maybe there are technicals that may not support oil immediately, but overall जो मुझे नजर आ रहा है वो यही है कि ultimately fundamentally oil will be required right now to meet that demand. And that being said, oil could go back to 100 $110 levels, which is basically still going to be below the levels that have been reached in the past. अगर आप 2018 2019 के level को देखें तो it was around it was around 84 $85 level, which is testing right now. अगर आप Halliburton को और इनको फॉर एग्जांपल आप Halliburton को देख लें कि Halliburton था किधर 2018 2019 में, तो मैंने आपको बताया कि 2018 2019 में किधर था ये $50 $55 लेवल पे, राइट. एंड अगर ऑयल वापस 2014 वाले लेवल पे चले जाता है व्हिच इज 110 $120, तो फिर Halliburton could be as much valued as $70 a pop, per share. So that's a substantial upside अगर 25 से 70 का देखते हैं, या even अगर आप 25 से 50 का आप देखते हैं, which is my base target right now, which is, let's say, around 100, below 100. Currently 84 पे अगर oil stay भी करता है तो Halliburton should be valued at 55 54, which is what the analysts are saying as well. So I think that's a safe way of looking at the fact कि इस वक्त definitely undervalued है. And इस वक्त एक अच्छा point होगा कम से कम मेरे लिए and आपके लिए, Abdullah, to be considering that.